For 3 years, I willingly played the role of his substitute for the white moonlight. Yet he exploited my inability to bear children, personally pushing me into the wheelchair of the crippled crown prince. Test for me, is he truly incapable? Watching him bring new women into the mansion one after another, my heart remained utterly still. I turned and devoted myself to playing the role of the crown prince's admirer. But he seized my wrist, his eyes crinkling with a smile. Since you've come to play this game, then play it with me for a lifetime. Later, when the Prince of Qi discovered I turned the charade into reality, he begged me madly to return. I smiled, placing my hand on my slightly rounded belly. Your Highness, the Crown Prince. He truly is quite capable. He didn't know that he suffered from a congenital condition, destined to have no children in this lifetime. Taking in countless concubines would be futile. That day, he came to my quarters for the first time ever. I knew he was about to take another concubine. He asked me casually, I hear Miss Qin is skilled in dance? Qin Liyuan was the youngest daughter of the Marquis of Jinbei, having just reached the age of coming of age this year. She was as vibrant as trembling peach blossoms on a branch in March. Fu Guiyun had seen her once at a palace banquet and returned somewhat distracted. My elder sister, too, had once caused a sensation in the capital with a single dance. What does your highness mean? He paused, his gaze resting on my face yet seeming to look through me at another. Lian has a lively spirit. I find her pleasing. And? He gently smoothed my hair at the temple. Therefore, Ningxu, do me a favor. You've borne no heir these 3 years. I wish to take another concubine to ensure the continuation of our line. What do you think? 3 years without an heir. I cannot conceive. For 3 full years, I shielded Fu Guiyun from this truth. From the very first year of our marriage, news of the Qi prince's palace lacking an heir spread throughout the capital. At first, it was tentative, the princess consort is still young, there's no rush. Later, it became speculation, could it be she has issues? Finally, it solidified into certain gossip, the Qi prince's consort is barren, a disgrace to the imperial family. Fu Guiyun never explained. He simply took concubines, one after another. From a singer from Jiangnan, to a daughter of a military family, to a palace maid bestowed by the empress. The rear courtyards of the Prince of Qi's mansion grew ever more bustling, while my main quarters grew increasingly desolate. After taking each new concubine, he would come to sit with me. I smiled, Your Highness may take as many as you wish, but please do not overdo it and harm your health. He glanced at me, his expression complex. You do not resent it? Resent what? Your Highness has no choice. Because I knew those concubines would never conceive. 2 years ago, he was diagnosed with congenital impotence. The imperial physician lowered his voice. Your Highness's innate essence is deficient. It is unlikely you will have an heir. My vision darkened. I steadied myself against the table corner, closing my eyes. Imperial succession is the foundation of the state. If word spread that Prince Qi couldn't father children, his life would be over. His brothers, ever lurking with greedy eyes, would devour him until not a bone remained. I ordered the imperial physician to conceal the truth from everyone, declaring publicly that I was infertile. And this became his justification for seeking new lovers. I want you to get close to the crown prince, Zhou Yanqing. His words snapped me back to reality. I snapped my eyes open, staring at him in disbelief. I never imagined he would order me to seduce another man. And this Zhou Yanqing had been crippled in a horse-riding accident 6 months ago. The noble ladies who once adored him scattered like birds. Yet Qin Liyan was stubbornly set on him, declaring she would marry no one else. Fu Guiyun spoke casually, you must make her give up. Pretend to admire him, grow close to him. Liyan is proud, she cannot bear seeing another near her beloved. A chill ran through me, my clenched fists trembling slightly. My husband wants me to deceive a crippled man? A cripple is best. He smiled, avoiding my gaze, his eyes devoid of warmth. Zhou Yanqing is proud and haughty. Now that he's fallen into the mud, he's most vulnerable. You need only use a little trick. What if I refuse? He stared at me silently for a moment, then suddenly reached out and pinched my chin. Ningxue, have you forgotten who rescued you from that den of wolves at the Dong household? Forgotten who provided you with fine clothes and sumptuous meals these past 3 years? The pressure from his fingertips gradually intensified. This face, this body, they were meant for I. Now that you're easing my burden, it's hardly a hardship. I nodded in agreement. His furrowed brow instantly smoothed, and he pulled me into his embrace. I knew my Ningxue would always obey. Once we succeed, I'll bring you back. You'll still be my wife. Gazing at the drizzling rain outside the window, the door in my heart that had remained open for him finally closed. These past 3 years, he never knew I'd had enough of this life. The first time I saw him was at my sister's funeral. He stood in the rain, clad in mourning robes, his umbrella tilted askew, half his shoulder drenched. Kneeling before the spirit tablet to burn paper offerings, I lifted my head and met his gaze. His appearance was torn and broken, yet in the rain, it held a strange beauty. From that moment, his image was etched deep into my eyes, hidden within my heart. Later, I learned that his appearance was a testament to his unwavering, decade-long devotion to my sister, Dong Qingyi. And I, Dong Ningxu, happened to bear a striking resemblance to my sister, 7 parts alike. Because of this face, I succeeded in marrying him. On our wedding day, Fu Guiyun lifted my red veil, his fingertips tracing my brow and eyes. Ningxue, you truly resemble her. At that moment, I believed it was the sweetest love confession in the world. For him, I learned my sister's handwriting, embroidered her beloved begonia patterns, I played the Spring River moonlit night melody she excelled at. When drunk, he would hold me close, calling out over and over, "Ai." He would stare at me blankly for long moments whenever I wore white. I knew all along I was merely my sister's shadow. Yet I always believed hearts were made of flesh, that even stone would grow warm with time. Until that lantern festival night, when I carried a lotus lantern I'd made myself to his study. Through the window, I heard him conversing with his advisors. Ningxue? Merely a substitute. Too dull-witted, not a fraction as spirited as I. If your highness dislikes her, why not take in a few new concubines? At least I have a face to look at. Better than nothing. Do you not fear her heart will grow cold if you treat her thus daily? He gave a cold laugh. She loves me to the bone. And she's barren. She cannot leave me. Who else would want her if she left me? So whatever I tell her to do, she'll do it like a dog. The lotus-shaped lamp fell to the floor, the candle flame snuffing out with a puff. My chest felt as if struck by a fist, leaving me gasping for breath for a long while. Back then, to marry him and see him daily, I found it sweet as honey. But who could have known I'd endure such days for 3 whole years? His heart truly is carved from stone. That's why I no longer want him. The next day, I went alone to the Jingwu Duke's residence as he had instructed. Zhou Yanqing sat in his wheelchair, clad in blue robes, a thin blanket draped over his knees. The crabapple blossoms in the courtyard were in full bloom, petals drifting down to cover his shoulders. He lifted his eyes to meet mine, his gaze as clear and cold as a frozen lake. Did Fu Guiyun send you? I froze, rooted to the spot. He turned his wheelchair, rolling over a carpet of fallen blossoms. The matter with Qin Lian has spread throughout the capital. Return and tell Fu Guiyun his tricks are utterly tedious. I knelt down, tucking the blanket around him. Your Highness misunderstands. I came of my own accord. Oh. I recited the prepared lines, striving to make my voice sound sincere. I've admired your Highness for a long time. Ever since that spring hunt 3 years ago, when you saved the child from the rearing horse with a single arrow. Dong Ningxu. He cut me off, suddenly smiling at me. That smile held 3 parts mockery and 7 parts understanding. You're lying. Yes, even I felt uneasy uttering these words. Zhou Yanqing shook his head and turned his wheelchair away from me. He didn't send me away. Instead, he kept me. He allowed me to come to the Jingwu Duke's residence daily, to organize his study, grind ink and lay paper, push him on walks through the courtyard. Most of the time, we remained silent. I sat alone in the courtyard, lost in thought. The heavens were unkind, and now a fine drizzle began to fall. I wanted to savor this moment of solitude, to let the rain soak me through. But just then, a shadow fell over me, and the raindrops ceased to touch my skin. I looked up to see Zhou Yanqing standing beside me, one hand holding an umbrella, the other clutching his robe as he quietly shielded me from the rain. I found myself lost in thought, watching him like this. It reminded me of the first time Fu Guiyun held an umbrella for me. That was the third day after our wedding. I had gone to the temple to burn incense for my elder sister. On the way back, a sudden downpour caught us. The carriage sank into the mud. I stepped down, holding my skirt, to investigate. Suddenly, a green bamboo umbrella descended over my head. "Your Highness, take care not to catch cold." He stood in the rain, the umbrella tilted entirely toward me, his own shoulder already soaked through. Rainwater slid down his jawline, dripping onto my hand. My heart pounded like a drum in that moment. I believed this tenderness was meant only for me. Later, I learned my sister dreaded rainy days most of all. Whenever it rained, Fu Guiyun would personally go to fetch her. Once, to deliver an umbrella, he galloped his horse across half the capital. He arrived soaked to the bone, yet the umbrella remained perfectly dry. I was merely reenacting a tenderness he'd rehearsed 1,000 times. Zhou Yanqing handed me his robe. "Don't catch a chill." After giving me the umbrella, the maids pushed him away. Watching his receding figure, I felt a pang of unease. On the 5th day, Qin Lian arrived. She fluttered in like a joyful butterfly. "Yanqing brother, I've learned to make new pastries, try some." Her voice halted abruptly when she saw my hand bent over, fastening Zhou Yanqing's cloak. Qin Lian's voice trembled. "Who is she?" Zhou Yanqing lifted his eyes, suddenly grasping my wrist. His tone was calm. "Lian, this is Ningxue, my fiancé." Qin Lian stumbled back in disbelief, sobbing as she fled the mansion. I stood frozen, unsure whether his words had been jest or truth. Pulling my hand away, my fingertips still trembled with tension. "Why must you hurt her like this, Your Highness?" Zhou Yanqing turned his wheelchair to face me. "Isn't this precisely what you all wanted? Once the play begins, it must be acted convincingly. What do you say, Miss Dong?" This was the first time he'd addressed me by name, not as Lady Xia. His gaze made me feel flustered. News of this quickly reached Fu Guiyun's residence. Late at night, he climbed into my courtyard, reeking of alcohol, yet his eyes were unnaturally clear. He seized my shoulders with a grip so tight it hurt. "Heard Zhou Yanqing publicly acknowledged you? Ningxue, you did well. Your Highness, let go." He snorted derisively, leaning close to whisper in my ear. "What? After a few days of acting, you actually think you're the crown prince's consort now? Don't forget, you'll always be Ai's stand-in, my wife. Once Lian gives up hope, I'll bring you back." I lifted my eyes to meet his. "And then what? Continue being Dong Qingyi's shadow until your Highness finds the next stand-in who resembles her better?" Fu Guiyun's body froze. In 3 years, this was the first time I'd ever defied him. After that night, I frequented the Jingwa Duke's residence even more often. Zhou Yanqing never inquired about my entanglement with Fu Guiyun. Only when I drifted into thought would he quietly hand me a scroll or a cup of tea. His hands were beautiful, long, fair, with distinct knuckles, steady as mountains when he held a brush. Yet another image surfaced in my mind. My calligraphy was poor. Fu Guiyun would take my hand and guide each stroke. His breath brushed intimately against my ear. "Keep your wrists steady, anchor your breath, like this." The words "holding your hand" fell onto the Xian paper. My face flushed, my heart racing, yet he released my hand and stared at the characters for a long while, his gaze gradually growing distant. "Suddenly," he said, "when Ai first started learning calligraphy, she was just like this, her hand would shake, and she could never get the horizontal strokes right." My hand holding the brush froze midair. The study fell into an instant silence. Only then did I realize, the grip he taught me was the same one my sister used when she first began calligraphy. The characters he praised as showing improvement all bore a striking resemblance to my sister's handwriting. Even my progress was measured against her trajectory. I shook my head, banishing the image from my mind, and focused on sorting through Zhou Yanqing's old belongings. Just then, I spotted a horsewhip tapped at the bottom of a box. I couldn't help but look up and ask him, did the Crown Prince enjoy horseback riding in the past? His gaze swept over the whip, utterly unruffled. "Old matters. What a pity." He lifted his gaze. "What is it a pity? That I'm crippled and can no longer gallop freely?" I shook my head. It's a pity that people only see you cannot ride, yet fail to see what else you can do. He paused, then lowered his eyes and rolled away in his wheelchair. Day after day, time swiftly brought us to late spring. That day, I pushed Zhou Yanqing to a temple outside the city to burn incense. On the way back, we encountered bandits. The driver fled in terror. As I was dragged from the carriage, I saw Zhou Yanqing's wheelchair overturned beside us. Your Highness! The instant the bandit's blade swung down, I instinctively closed my eyes and threw myself over him. For a long moment, no pain came. Only the dull crack of breaking bones and a stifled groan. When I opened my eyes, Zhou Yanqing had risen from his wheelchair, using his body to block the blade. Blood splattered across my face. Your legs. He looked down at me, a faint smile tugging at his pale lips. Fake. I froze in place. Zhou Yanqing's leg had been fake all along. This news soon exploded like thunder across the entire capital. The Jingwu Duke's mansion announced only that the heir's injuries were improving. But I alone knew the truth. That blade had severed his tendons and bones. The physician said that had it been even half a moment later, he truly would have been crippled. I stood by his sickbed, changing his bandages, and asked softly, why pretend to be crippled? The wound on his shoulder and back was gruesome, flesh twisted and torn. My hands shook violently, spilling half the medicinal powder. He lay propped on his pillow, his voice muffled. Court factions are at war. The Jingwu Marquis' household is too prominent, it attracts too much attention. Father told me to lie low for now. Then why now? He turned his face, his dark eyes fixed on me. Because of you, Dong Ningxue. When that blade came down, my only thought was to protect you from harm. The medicine bottle slipped from my hand, clattering to the floor. What exactly did he mean? Yet within days, I caught a chill. Bedridden, Zhou Yanqing had the kitchen prepare candied snow pears. Despite his wounds, he personally fed them to me. 2 years prior, when Fu Guoyin's cough flared, I stayed up all night stewing candied snow pears for him. I tended the small stove for 3 hours, finally achieving the perfect consistency as dawn approached. I carried the bowl to his study where he was bent over official documents. Your Highness, drink this to soothe your throat. He took a sip, his movements halting. I's flavor. I froze for a moment, feigning not to hear, then pressed again. What? He scooped up the date and offered a beautiful smile. When she stewed snow pears, she always added an extra honey date. Said it made the sweetness just right. I didn't know my sister had that habit. That honey date, I'd added it on a whim. But he insisted it was her taste. He drank every last drop of the soup, his gaze on me as gentle as water. That night, he stayed in my room and called my name for the first time while I was awake. He kissed the corner of my eye. Ningxue, thank you. I wept in the darkness, unable to tell if it was joy or sorrow. So the prerequisite for being loved was to become someone else. Yet Zhou Yanqing had never been like him. Later, when Fu Guoyin found out, he stormed into the Jingwu Duke's residence. At that time, Zhou Yanqing had just regained the ability to walk. Leaning on his crutch, he stood before me. Your Highness, the Prince of Qi, trespassing upon a subject's residence, this is improper. Fu Guoyin sneered, his gaze piercing through Zhou Yanqing to fix on me. Proper? Ningxue, return with me. I stood motionless behind Zhou Yanqing. Seeing this, his voice suddenly rose. Dong Ningxue. Do not forget your place. Zhou Yanqing took up the thread, tugging at the corner of his mouth. What place? The mistress of the Prince of Qi's mansion, or Dong Qingyi's substitute? Fu Guoyin's expression abruptly changed. This final confrontation ended in discord. But as Fu Guoyin departed, he left these words, Ningxue, you must attend the palace banquet in 3 days. Otherwise, that sickly little brother of the Dong family will likely spend the new year in prison. I clenched my fists tightly, stunned he would threaten me with AU. He was my half-brother, only 14, sent to the magistrate's office by the Dong family's matriarch who held his misdeeds against him. 3 years ago, Fu Guoyin used the same leverage to force me into the Qi prince's mansion. Zhou Yanqing took my hand. Don't be afraid. I'll find a way. I gave a bitter smile. Why must the crown prince wade into this mess? I am merely. He cut me off, speaking slowly and deliberately. What are you? In my eyes, you are only Dong Ningxue. You are no one's substitute. I found myself unable to fathom the man before me. He shielded me from the blade, and now he spoke these words. What did he truly intend? On the night of the palace banquet, I wore the gown Zhou Yanqing had sent me. Moon-white silk, embroidered with sparse crabapple blossoms. It wasn't the style my sister often wore, yet it fit me unexpectedly well. Fu Guiyun waited for me under the corridor. When he saw me, he paused, startled. This dress. I replied calmly, the crown prince sent it. Did you need something? He stared at me for a long moment, then suddenly smiled. Ningxue, you've changed. People always change. He stepped closer, trapping me between the corridor pillar and himself. Is it because of Zhou Yanqing? I heard he took a blade for you. Just a ploy to win sympathy, Ningxue. You're so naive. I lifted my gaze, the corners of my mouth curving upward. The naive one is Prince Qi. Do you truly believe I'm still that Dong Ningxue from 3 years ago, one you could manipulate at will? A flicker of panic crossed his eyes. Then, without looking at his expression again, I turned and walked away. Midway through the banquet, I excused myself to step outside for air. No sooner had I reached the waterside pavilion than Fu Guiyun embraced me from behind. The stench of alcohol mingled with his signature agarwood incense, suffocating me. His voice was hoarse. Ningxue, I regret it. These past days, I've thought long and hard. I should have realized long ago that you are not Ai. I don't want you to be her shadow anymore. My entire body stiffened. On my 18th birthday, Fu Guiyun had given me a zither. Fine polonial wood, ice silk strings, with a tiny engraved character E at the tail end. Ai's zither. I kept it after she left. Now I give it to you, at least it will be put to good use. I traced the engraved character, my fingertips trembling. I cannot accept my sister's keepsake. He pressed the chain into my arms. You can. She said she wanted to hear me play The Phoenix Seeks Its Mate, but I could never play it well. Ningxue, play it for me. That night, I held back tears and played the entire piece. He listened quietly beneath the moonlight, then whispered softly, so beautiful. Just as beautiful as Ai played it. Suddenly, I understood. What he wanted was a living, obedient shadow. I clenched my fists, lowering my gaze. Let go. He buried his face in my neck, warm liquid seeping through my collar. I won't let go. I was wrong, Ningxue. These past days, watching you by Zhou Yanqing's side, watching him shield you from danger, watching the way you look at him. I was consumed by jealousy. My heart felt like it had been wrenched by an iron fist. 3 years, I'd never heard him say these words. Yet now, they rang with bitter irony. I pried his hands away, too late. Straightening my collar, I turned toward the dainty figure skipping toward us, skirt hem fluttering. Miss Qin is looking for you. Your new flame seems more anxious than your old love. His face drained instantly, freezing him in place. I stepped past him and saw Zhou Yanqing standing beneath the moon gate. Leaning on his cane, he gazed silently at me, having stood there for who knows how long. On the carriage ride back to the Duke of Jing's residence, Zhou Yanqing and I shared no words. The wheels rolled over the blue stone slabs, their clatter echoing distinctly in the silent night. I clutched my sleeve, still damp with Fu Guiyun's tears. How laughable. In 3 years, he never shed a tear for me, yet now he acted with such heartfelt sincerity. Zhou Yanqing's warm hand suddenly brushed against my cheek. You've been crying? Only then did I feel the icy dampness on my cheeks. I turned away hastily to wipe them. No, it's just the wind. He handed me a plain handkerchief. The carriage windows are closed. I took it. A faint scent of medicinal herbs lingered on the fabric. As our fingertips touched, he suddenly clasped my hand. His voice was low. Dong Ningxue, if you wish to return to the Prince of Qi's residence, I won't stop you. I snapped my eyes up. His gaze was deep, like a bottomless icy pool. Fu Guiyun's confession today might hold a shred of truth. If you can't let go. I clasped his hand in mine. I can let go. I just hate myself. Hate myself for still aching over that single tear. Why did it take me 3 years to realize a substitute is forever just a substitute? Zhou Yanqing resolved Ayu's matter on the 3rd day. He personally went to the Shuntian prefecture office. Using methods unknown to me, he not only secured Ayu's release but also compelled the Dong family to sign a written agreement, pledging never again to use Ayu as a pawn. How did you manage that, Your Highness? He was rehabilitating in the courtyard, walking laboriously with crutches, his forehead glistening with cold sweat. He paused and accepted the handkerchief I offered. The Jingwa Duke's household deserves some respect. Besides, if we truly investigated the Dong family's dirty laundry, they'd be in for a world of trouble. His tone was casual, but I knew it wasn't that simple. Thank you, Your Highness. He looked at me. There's no need, Ningxue. I helped you because I wanted to, not for your gratitude. Camellia petals fell thickly on his shoulders. I instinctively reached out to brush them away. When my fingertips touched his robe, we both froze. A faint blush quietly spread across my cheeks. The day I left the Prince of Qi's residence, the begonia blossoms were in full bloom. I placed the signed divorce papers on the table. I walked down that long corridor for the last time. He had once pinned a flower in my hair here, saying, "You're more beautiful than the flowers." Later, in my sister's portrait, I saw the same camellia pinned at her temple. Even compliments, it seemed, were replicas. The steward rushed out, handing me a wooden box. Your Highness. Miss Dong, the prince instructed me to give this to you. Inside were all the things I'd given him over 3 years. A poorly embroidered sachets. Half-copied sutras. And that zither engraved with the character E. Holding the wooden box beneath the crabapple tree, I suddenly recalled a line from my sister's notebook. If there is a next life, I wish to be a tree, neither waiting for someone to adorn me, nor waiting for praise. I would simply bloom and fall on my own. I watched the petals drift down like a belated snowfall. This time, I could finally be only Dong Ningxue. Ever since Dong Ningxue moved away and gradually faded from his sight, a void had formed in his heart. Flocks of young beauties failed to capture his interest. He drowned himself in wine day after day. One day, Fu Guiyun stumbled upon the pulse diagnosis records from years past. His trembling hands unfolded the yellowed scroll. The ink from a year ago had begun to bleed. Yet the words innate deficiency of vital essence, difficulty conceiving offspring, confirmed eunuch stabbed painfully into his eyes. The imperial physician knelt prostrate, his voice trembling. The princess consort burned the duplicate copy of the case file that day, commanding this old servant never to reveal it. She said, Your Highness is of noble blood, and such a stain must not be borne. Fu Guiyun's voice was hoarse and terrifying. So she shouldered it alone? Bearing the shame of infertility for 3 years? Bearing the ridicule of the entire capital? Yes. The princess consort said someone had to bear it. The scroll slipped from his fingers. Fu Guiyun recalled the scenes of her being mocked back then. The scornful glances from her sisters-in-law at the palace banquet. The fertility formula her mother sighed as she handed over. The drunken teasing from colleagues. Yet Dong Ningxue always held her back straight, smiling as she accepted every insult, swallowing the bitterness silently. He had never once shown concern. So much she had endured for him. So much pain she would rather have the world stab her in the back than let anyone touch his vulnerable spot. He closed his eyes. Out. All of you, out. In the empty study, the proud man finally curled up, burying his face in his palms. A sob escaped his throat as tears seeped through his fingers. He finally understood. He had loved her all along. He lifted his head, clutching the divorce papers on the desk tightly before tearing them frantically to shreds and scattering them into the air. Ningxue, I was wrong. I'll come for you right now. That day, Qin Liyuan came again. This time she neither cried nor made a scene, only stood quietly at the courtyard gate, watching Zhou Yanqing practice walking. She waited for an entire hour before finally speaking. Brother Yanqing, now that your legs are healed, will you still marry me? Zhou Yanqing turned, leaning on his crutch. Liyuan, I never promised to marry you. But before. His tone remained calm. Before, I treated you like an immature little sister. And I still do. Qin Lian's eyes welled up, yet she stubbornly refused to let tears fall. She looked at me, her gaze complex. Dong Ningxue, you've won. I met her stare. I wasn't competing with anyone. She bit her lip, but you took him away. It doesn't matter though. Prince Chi said he'll send you back eventually. My heart sank. Ignoring her, I turned and walked away. Ever since I moved out of the prince's residence, Fu Guiyun began appearing frequently at the Duke of Jingguo's mansion. Sometimes he waited at the alley entrance. Sometimes he sent people to deliver old belongings. A hairpin left at his residence, a poetry collection, even a well-worn embroidered handkerchief. He hoped these would remind me of the happy times we shared. But he never considered that to me. These were pain, humiliation, and degradation. By the 5th time he blocked my entrance, I was utterly exhausted. I said calmly, "Your Highness, please return." His eyes were bloodshot, stubble sprouting on his chin. He looked haggard, unrecognizable from the perpetually dignified Prince Chi. Ningxue, I know everything now. I was wrong. Besides, I haven't agreed to the divorce. You are still my wife. Let's talk properly, okay? Just for the time it takes to burn a stick of incense. Everything that needed to be said has been said. No. He suddenly raised his voice. You never gave me a chance. I admit I was foolish before, but how could you be so heartless as to deny me even the chance to change? I didn't send you to truly fall for him. This is unfaithfulness. At these words, my body stiffened for a moment. He was the one who sent me away, and he was the one who called me back. Now he was pinning all the blame on me. I looked at him and suddenly felt utterly exhausted. Fu Guiyun, do you know what hurts me most? He froze. It's not that you treated me as a substitute. It's not that you fell for Qin Liyuan. It's not even that you used me to hurt Zhou Yanqing. It's that you never truly saw me. It's that every time you made a mistake, you only ever pinned the blame squarely on me. He was speechless. I looked at him and continued, you've merely lost an obedient stand-in, like a child losing a toy. You never loved me. You're just resentful. He staggered backward as if struck by a heavy blow. I paid him no further mind and walked away without a second glance. That night, I had a nightmare. I dreamed of my sister standing before me in a wedding gown, her face a bloody mess. Ningxue, why did you take what was mine? I didn't. The Prince of Qi was mine. You were my substitute. How could a substitute have a life of her own? I woke in a cold sweat, a sob still stuck in my throat. A figure suddenly flashed outside the window. Who's there? Zhou Yanqing's voice answered, it's me. I heard noise in your room and came to check. I pulled on my robe and opened the door. He sat in his wheelchair, a thin blanket draped over his knees. Moonlight stretched his shadow long across the floor. Bad dream? I crouched down, only then realizing I hadn't even put on my shoes. Yeah, I dreamed of my sister. He was silent for a moment, then suddenly reached out and touched the top of my head very gently. Dong Ningxue, you are nobody's shadow. With just those words, the grievances I'd held back for years burst through the dam. I buried my face in his lap and cried like a child. He stiffened, then slowly, awkwardly, began to pat my back, like soothing a baby. When I awoke, he was already gone. From that day on, my relationship with Zhou Yanqing grew subtle. He no longer called me Miss Dong, but simply Ningxue. I would support his arm during his rehabilitation. I would prepare medicinal soups for him. I would sit beside him while he read, embroidering handkerchiefs. No longer did I embroider the crabapple blossoms my sister loved, but the green bamboo he favored. The years passed in a stolen tranquility. Until the Duchess of Jingguo sought me out for a talk. This noblewoman, renowned for her sternness, dismissed the servants and got straight to the point. Miss Dong, please sit. Now that Yanqing's leg has recovered, there are matters we must clarify. I lowered my gaze. Please speak, madam. She lifted her teacup but did not drink. I know a little of your entanglement with Prince Qi. Though the Jingguo Duke's household fears not the Prince Qi's, there's no need to wade into this murky water. Yanqing shielded you from the blade, incurred Xie's displeasure for you, that alone is unwise. Should this affair drag on? Mother. Zhou Yanqing pushed open the door. He walked slowly today, without his cane. He stopped beside me. You needn't trouble her. I wish to keep her. The Duchess of Jingwa slammed her teacup down. Nonsense. Do you understand the court's current situation? The Prince of Qi and the third prince are locked in fierce conflict. By associating with his people now, do you intend to drag the entire Duke's household down with you? She isn't Prince Qi's woman. I kept my gaze fixed on this man defending me, not truly hearing the details of their argument. The final exchange ended with the Duchess of Jingwa storming out in fury. Silently, I pushed Zhou Yanqing's wheelchair back to his room, a heavy stone pressing down on my heart. Your Highness, you needn't. He cut me off. Ningxue, what if I told you I'm not entirely innocent? I froze, unsure of his meaning. He turned his wheelchair to face me, his gaze clear. From the very beginning, I knew why Fu Guiyun sent you here. Keeping you by my side was partly out of sympathy, but also out of self-interest. What self-interest? I wanted to see if Fu Guiyun would ever regret it. I wanted to know if that arrogant Prince Qi would ever face a day of deep regret. I looked at him calmly. You used me to get back at him? At first, yes. But not anymore. When did that change? He gazed at me for a long moment before whispering softly, the moment you threw yourself at me. So that was it. After that, I avoided Zhou Yanqing for 3 days. Not out of anger, but needing time to sort things out. Was my dependence on him genuine, or merely the instinct of a drowning person clutching at a log? On the evening of the 4th day, Ayu arrived. The boy had grown taller, dressed in the uniform of a guard from the Jingwa Duke's mansion, his eyes sparkling. Big sister. The Crown Prince ordered me to serve as your guard, saying this way you'll get to see me often. He arranged this? Ayu took my hand and chattered on, yes. The young master also said that once I turn 16, he'll send me to the army for training. Sister, the young master truly cares for you. He said you suffered too much in the past, and from now on, he'll protect you. I suddenly recalled how I'd lost myself all these years for Fu Guiyun, and my eyes stung. What else did he say? He also said. Aoi scratched his head. He said not to be angry with him, not to let it harm your health. His legs hurt, he can't walk far, so he'll wait for you in the courtyard. I nodded. After seeing him off, I went straight to Zhou Yanqing, who was painting in his study. He was painting that day in the courtyard, beneath the crabapple tree, capturing me crouched before his wheelchair, tilting my face upward as I spoke. The crabapple blossoms at my temple were rendered with astonishing realism. I had no idea the Crown Prince possessed such remarkable skill with a brush. His hand paused, ink smudging as it spread. Ningxue. He set down his brush, hesitating to turn. If you wish to leave, I'll have Ayu escort you. The banknotes and travel permits are ready. Head south, to Jiangnan. Fu Guiyun's influence doesn't reach that far. I walked over and picked up the painting. Who said I'm leaving? It's truly beautiful. Give it to me. He snapped his head up to look at me. Zhou Yanqing, we're even now. What? I met his gaze directly. You used me to get back at Fu Guiyun at first, and I only did it to complete my mission. We both started with ulterior motives. So let's start now, heart for heart. His Adam's apple bobbed. After a long moment, he croaked, Are you sure? I'm certain. He seized my hand and pulled me toward him. This kiss came unexpectedly. Or perhaps, we'd both waited far too long. His forehead pressed against mine, his breath uneven. Ningxue, I won't let go. I nodded. Just then, the sound of shattering porcelain echoed from the doorway. We turned to see Fu Guiyun standing outside, his face deathly pale, a shattered medicine bowl at his feet. He stared fixedly at our clasped hands, the blood rushing to his eyes. His voice was hoarse. Dong Ningxue, you've done it now. I curved my lips. Isn't this what you wanted? News of Fu Guiyun's loss of composure that day quickly spread throughout the capital. The news that the Prince of Qi had lost control in public at the Jingwa Duke's residence over a discarded woman became the talk of the town. Upon hearing this, the emperor summoned him to the palace and reprimanded him for half an hour. The old emperor slammed a memorial before him. Do you know how many eyes are watching you now? For a woman, you've even abandoned your dignity. Fu Guiyun knelt straight. Your humble son acknowledges his error. Acknowledges? I see you as stubbornly deluded. That Dong Ningxue, a concubine's daughter of the Dong family, and sister to Dong Qingyi. Your marriage to her was folly from the start. Now you've stirred up a citywide scandal. What? Do you truly believe I am dead? Fu Guiyun bowed his head. Father, please calm your anger. Your humble son simply refuses to accept this. The emperor narrowed his eyes, resentful of what? Resentful that someone snatched what was yours? Seventh son, you disappoint me greatly. The name Seventh Prince sent a shiver through Fu Guiyun's body. It had been years since he'd been addressed that way. These palace secrets were revealed to me by Zhou Yanqing. Seated in his study, he opened letter after letter of secret correspondence, the firelight casting shadows across his composed profile. Fu Guiyun has fallen from power. The third prince won't let this opportunity pass. What will happen to him? Zhou Yanqing paused. At best, house arrest. At worst, stripping of his title. My heart tightened. Not out of pity, but suddenly recalling that youth 3 years ago, standing in the rain before my sister's spirit tablet. He once possessed an innocent heart. When did he become like this? Zhou Yanqing clasped my hand. Ningxue, if you're worried. I shook my head. I'm not worried about him. I just feel sorrow. For my sister, for myself, and for Fu Guiyun. We were all trapped in the cage of our own obsessions, none of us able to escape. When Qin Lian came to find me, I was sewing knee pads for Zhou Yanqing. She had grown noticeably thinner, the former arrogance gone from her eyes. Dong Ningxue, we need to talk. I set down my needle and thread. Please sit, Miss Qin. She remained standing. It's unnecessary. I came to tell you I'm getting married. I froze. She smiled. Not Prince Qi, nor Brother Yanqing. It's the son of father's former subordinate, a brute, a warrior by birth, utterly crude. But he treats me well. He says he doesn't mind that my heart belongs to another. Miss Qin. Don't pity me. I chose this path not because I've given up, but because I've come to understand. You and Brother Yanqing truly love each other. Prince Qi. He loves no one but himself. She turned to leave, then paused. Oh, there's something you might not know. She turned her face slightly, her voice soft. 3 years ago, before your sister died, she met with Prince Qi. They had a terrible fight. The next day, your sister hanged herself. The needle in my hand pierced my fingertip, drawing a bead of blood. I had always believed my sister's death was due to a relapse of her old illness. After our mother passed away early, life grew increasingly difficult for us in the Dong household after our father remarried. My sister was frail, taking medicine year-round. The doctor said she wouldn't live past 20. So when she left us, though I grieved, I harbored no suspicion. But Qin Liyuan's words were like a key, unlocking long-buried fear. I asked Zhou Yanqing to investigate. 3 days later, he brought back an old nurse who had once served my sister before being sold to a country estate. Kneeling on the ground, the old nurse wept. Second young miss. This servant failed the eldest young miss. What do you know? That spring, the eldest miss went to the temple to burn incense and met His Highness the Prince of Qi. They became lovers. But the Prince of Qi was already betrothed to the eldest daughter of the general of the nation. The eldest miss wanted to end it, but the Prince of Qi refused, saying he would break off the engagement and marry her. My clenched fists trembled. Then what? Then Prince Qi truly broke off the engagement. But in his fury, the general of the nation denounced him to the court. The emperor was enraged and confined Prince Qi to his quarters for 3 months. The old nurse wiped her tears and continued, those 3 months, the eldest young lady wept herself hoarse every day. When Prince Qi was finally released, he was a changed man. He declared he would marry the second young lady of the general's household. So my sister was overcome with grief? Not entirely. The old nurse lowered her voice. The annulment caused a citywide scandal. The Dong family, ashamed of the eldest miss, sought to send her to the ancestral temple. The eldest miss refused. She sought out Prince Qi, and they had a fierce argument in the guest quarters. This servant heard it outside. Prince Qi said. He said. What did he say? He said he'd grown tired of her face. The capital is full of beauties, why fixate on her? I collapsed into a chair. So that was it. Fu Guiyun's coldness never began with me. After hesitating, I told Zhou Yanqing the truth. He fell silent for a long time before asking, "What do you intend to do?" I gave a bitter smile, "I don't know. Sister has been dead for 3 years. What good does it do to say any of this now?" He took my hand, "It matters. At least you know it wasn't your fault. It was Fu Guiyun's callousness, not that you weren't good enough. But sister. Your sister chose the wrong man. You haven't. Ningxue, don't punish yourself for someone else's mistake." That night, I dreamt of my sister. She stood beneath a begonia tree in white robes, smiling and beckoning me, "Ningxue, come here." I walked toward her, and she embraced me gently. Whispering in my ear, she said, "Don't follow my path. You must find happiness." When I awoke, my pillowcase was soaked through. Zhou Yanqing slept fully clothed beside the bed, still holding my hand. Moonlight filtered through the window lattice, revealing the dark circles beneath his eyes. These past days, investigating my sister's affairs and navigating court intrigues, he'd barely slept a full night. I reached out, gently touching his brow. He suddenly opened his eyes. Our gazes met, neither of us speaking. Finally, he smiled first, cupping my hand in his. "Bad dream?" I drew closer to him. "I dreamed of my sister. She told me to be happy." He pulled me into his embrace. "Then we'll live well together. We'll make that bastard Fu Guiyun die of envy." I chuckled softly, but as I laughed, tears began to fall. By spring, Zhou Yanqing's leg had healed about 70%. Though he couldn't gallop on horseback yet, he could walk without crutches, though with a slight limp. The Jingwu Duke's mansion held a grand banquet in celebration, attended by most of the capital's powerful nobles. Fu Guiyun was there too. He'd wasted away to a shadow of his former self, seated at the head of the table in his prince's ceremonial robes, drinking cup after cup. His gaze kept flickering toward me, dark and poisonous. Zhou Yanqing raised his cup. "Your Highness, Prince Qi, I offer you my respect." Fu Guiyun sneered, "Respect for what? For my blindness back then, mistaking pearls for fish eyes?" The banquet hall fell instantly silent. Zhou Yanqing remained unflinching. "Respect for your generosity. Had you not stepped aside, I would never have met Ningxue." The words stabbed like a dagger, piercing Fu Guiyun's heart. He slammed his cup down, shattering it into shards across the floor. "Zhou Yanqing, don't push your luck." The Duke of Jingwu, seated at the head of the table, spoke in a deep voice, "Seventh Prince. This is the Duke's residence, not your Qi Prince's mansion." Fu Guiyun's chest heaved violently before he slumped back into his seat. After the banquet ended, Fu Guiyun stopped me in the corridor. He was drunk, his steps unsteady, reeking of alcohol. He grabbed my wrist. "Ningxue. Ningxue, listen to me. I've uncovered the truth. Your sister's death was my fault. I admit it. But my feelings for you are genuine, unlike before. Let go." His eyes were bloodshot. "I won't." "What can Zhou Yanqing offer you?" "A cripple, a crown prince caught in a whirlpool of intrigue. Stay with him, and you won't even know how you'll die." I raised my hand and slapped him. "This slap is for my sister." He froze. I withdrew my hand, my voice eerily calm. "Fu Guiyun, you'll never understand love. You only love yourself. Your pain at losing me isn't because you care, it's because someone took what was yours." "No, that's not, yes. If you truly loved me even a fraction, you wouldn't have threatened me with Au, wouldn't have chased after Qin Lian when I needed you most, and certainly wouldn't have made me seduce another man." He staggered backward as if drained of all strength. "But I regret it. I truly regret it." I turned away. "Then live out the rest of your life with that regret. Don't come back." After that, Fu Guiyun fell gravely ill. Court physicians streamed into the Prince of Qi's mansion like a river. Rumors spread that his heart was so deeply troubled it had damaged his liver and lungs. The emperor, ultimately concerned for his son, relieved him of all duties to focus on recovery. the political winds began to shift. The third prince's faction seized the opportunity to suppress the Prince of Chi's supporters. Officials aligned with him were either demoted or reassigned. When the tree falls, the monkeys scatter. The once illustrious Prince of Chi's residence now stood desolate, its courtyard deserted and its stables quiet. He brought this upon himself. Zhou Yanqing murmured this while helping me select bridal fabrics. A deep crimson cloud brocade, embroidered with twin lotus blossoms. I sighed. Once news of our marriage spreads, he'll likely fall ill again. Zhou Yanqing draped the fabric over my shoulders, then let him remain ill. You look truly beautiful in it. The shopkeeper chuckled nearby. Your Highness. Our lady looks lovely in anything. He corrected him. Call her madam. The shopkeeper hastily amended. Yes, madam. My cheeks flushed as I lowered my head to stroke the fabric, my heart feeling as though it had been dipped in honey. But the upheaval came swiftly. 3 days before the wedding. Ayu rushed into the mansion, bloodied from head to toe. Sister. Crown Prince. Prince Chi. Prince Chi has rebelled. What? Ayu gasped for breath. He's allied with the deputy commander of the Imperial Guards. They'll force a coup at midnight tonight. I was on duty at the palace gates and overheard their secret talks. Crown Prince, take sister away now. Zhou Yanqing's expression darkened instantly. Someone. Prepare the carriage. I seized his hand. No. Your father remains in the palace. Hundreds of lives depend on the Jingwa Duke's estate. We cannot abandon them. Ningxue. I looked at him. Zhou Yanqing. I fled once 3 years ago. This time, I choose not to run. He closed his eyes briefly. When they opened again, his resolve was absolute. He turned and commanded, very well. Seal the manor gates. All servants and guards to the ramparts. Send word to the imperial garrison. Ayu, escort the lady to the secret chamber. I will stay with you. Ningxue. I clasped his hand. Husband and wife are meant to share life and death. Have you forgotten? He stared at me for a long moment, finally offering a bitter smile. This life of mine is yours to claim. At midnight, flames shot skyward. The clamor of battle grew closer, horse hooves shattering the street's silence. Outside the Jingwa Duke's residence, a dark mass of rebel soldiers encircled the estate, leaving no room to breathe. Fu Guiyun sat atop his horse, clad in armor, his face distorted by the firelight. Zhou Yanqing. Hand over Ningxue, and I'll spare your life. Zhou Yanqing stood atop the wall, clad in blue robes and wielding his sword. Fu Guiyun, you can still turn back now. Fu Guiyun roared with laughter. Turn back? I've long since burned my bridges. Zhou Yanqing, do you think you've won? Let me tell you, tonight in this capital city either the heavens will change, or rivers of blood will flow. He lifted his gaze, his eyes passing over Zhou Yanqing and landing on me. He extended his hand, his tone tinged with a hint of tenderness. Ningxue, come to me. Come to my side. I'll make you empress. Didn't you hate being a stand-in? From now on, you'll be the only one. I shook my head and stepped back. Suddenly, an arrow whistled through the air, grazing his cheek. Zhou Yanqing lowered his bow, his voice cold. Dream on. Fu Guiyun wiped the blood from his face, his eyes utterly mad. Kill! The slaughter raged on through the entire night. The Jingwa Duke's mansion boasted high walls and thick gates, guarded by veterans of the battlefield. The rebels couldn't breach it. As dawn approached, reinforcements from the imperial garrison finally arrived, launching a pincer attack from within and without. Seeing the tide had turned, Fu Guiyun charged alone toward the mansion gates on horseback. Ningxue! He was struck by a hail of arrows and tumbled from his mount. I watched from the ramparts as the once peerlessly magnificent Prince of Qi crashed to the dust like a rag doll. Blood spread beneath him, staining the blue stone slabs crimson. Zhou Yanqing covered my eyes. Don't watch. But I had already seen. I saw Fu Guiyun struggle to lift his head, reaching toward me with his hand, his lips moving. As if he were saying, I'm sorry. Then that hand fell limply to the ground. The Qi king plotted rebellion, his entire clan was executed. Yet, sparing only the Fuguiyun lineage due to the old emperor's final vestiges of paternal mercy, the rest of the imperial kin were exiled 3,000 li. The once illustrious Qi prince's mansion vanished overnight. I visited him in prison for one last farewell. Clothed in prison garb, shackled, seated upon a straw mat, he still held his back straight. When he saw me enter, he brushed the dust from his clothes and smiled. "You came. I knew you would. Any last words?" He lifted his eyes to meet mine. "Yes, Ningxue. If I could do it all over, I would love you properly." My nose stung, and I shook my head, nearly believing him again. "There are no ifs." He lowered his gaze to the shackles. "Yes. This life was destined to let me miss you." I remained silent for a long time. Suddenly, he asked, "Did you ever love me? Even just a little, for a single moment?" I kept looking at him, and after a long while, I said, "I did. 3 years ago, on that rainy night, when he held the umbrella for me. When he taught me to write, guiding my hand to correct my strokes. In countless moments when I believed I was loved." He smiled, and as he smiled, tears fell. "Enough. That's enough." On the day Fu Guiyun was executed, I did not go. Zhou Yanqing didn't go either. He stayed home with me, helping me try on my wedding gown. He knelt down, adjusting it carefully. "Tuck the cuffs in a bit more so they won't trip you when you walk." How does the crown prince know such things? He tilted his face up, smiling. "I learned them on purpose. When it comes to marrying you, I want to handle everything myself." The noon bell tolled outside the window. The hour of execution had arrived. My hand trembled, and the needle pierced my fingertip. Zhou Yanqing grasped my hand and blew gently on it. "It's all over now." I leaned into his embrace. "Yes, it's all over." Our wedding was simple. The Jingwu Duke's mansion had just weathered a storm. Ostentation was unwise. Only closest relatives and friends were invited to witness our vows in the ancestral hall. On our wedding night, Zhou Yanqing was as nervous as a young lad. He stood at the doorway, hesitating. "I'll sleep in the study?" I lifted my veil, both annoyed and amused. "Zhou Yanqing, we're married." His ears flushed crimson. "I know, but I'm not very mobile. I'm afraid I'd inconvenience you." I walked over and took his hand. "I won't be inconvenienced. As long as it's you, nothing will ever inconvenience me." Crackling red candles cast light upon his handsome features. He gazed at me for a long time before finally leaning down to kiss my forehead gently. "Ningxue, I'll take good care of you. I'll spend my entire life doing so." "I know." He shook his head. "You don't know. I used to think this was how my life would be. Waiting to die in a wheelchair, drifting through the whirlpool of court politics, then fading away without a trace. But then you came, like a ray of light piercing the stagnant waters of my existence." I stood on tiptoe and pressed my lips to his. Whispering against his mouth, I murmured, "Then hold me tight, Zhou Yanqing. Hold me tight. Don't let go." His Adam's apple bobbed as he finally surrendered. The crimson curtains fell, spring deep as the sea. A year later, I gave birth to a daughter. Zhou Yanqing cradled the swaddled infant, grinning like a fool. "She looks like you. Her eyes are yours. Does the crown prince want a son?" He kissed the child's forehead. "I want a daughter just like you. I'll spoil her into the happiest girl in the world, so she knows someone would give everything to love her." My eyes stung with tears. Outside the window, the crabapple blossoms bloomed again, scattering pink and white petals across the courtyard. Au returned from military service, now a tall, handsome young man. The Jingwu Duke's mansion regained its former tranquility as the turmoil in the imperial court gradually subsided. Sometimes I think of Fu Guiyun. I recall his final gaze, remember those words. But life offers no ifs. Only the present, only this moment, only Zhou Yanqing holding my hand and whispering, "Madam, it's time for your medicine. It's bitter." He smiled and fed me a pill. "I've prepared candied fruit. It's sweet." "Yes, sweet. After bitterness comes sweetness, spring deepens, never too late." Later, among old belongings, I found my sister's notebook. The final page read, "If reborn, I wish to be an ordinary girl, marrying an ordinary man." Seeking neither wealth nor glory, only one devoted heart, growing old together, never parting. I closed the notebook and gazed out at the courtyard. Zhou Yanqing was teaching his daughter to walk. He crouched low, arms wide open, his patience boundless. Sunlight filtered through the crabapple branches, scattering like fragments of gold upon them. Sister, I saw it for you. This earthly life, this ordinary happiness. It truly is beautiful. The end.